just tell me, how do you deal with family members and mental health issues? Because with family members, we all have some people that have mental health issues. Um, how do we deal with our family members? Let's start there because I think it's so important for us to understand that. What are your thoughts on that? And then I'm gonna also open it up to other members of the panel as well. But I want to start off with you. How do we deal with family members?
Well, Coach, thank you, Mr. Harris. Oh my goodness, I'm going to go there, but I'm still reeling from Mr. Harris's message. And there's some things I'd like to say to him at some point. I know that we have one more speaker. Do you want me to answer this question first before we move forward?
Go ahead, Dr. Faith.
Okay, go ahead and answer this question and then we'll get to the other speaker. Okay, the one way that we would deal with family members, Coach, is first of all, we need to know who in the family. Is it the entire family unit? When we're looking at families, no, a diagnosis does not exist in a vacuum, right? What affects one affects everyone. So one of the most important things that can happen is that the family is as Nefer was saying, that this is reclassified, the story is reclassified to truth, which means that we can make this is supportive because we're only as strong as our weakest link, right? But we would never, I often think of this scenario, the leader of any platoon would never send his men out on the battlefield unarmed or without a full arsenal. Right? So the one thing that can happen, or the way that we can talk about this, is about how we all come together to support one another, to make sure the arsenal is always full. In our communities, mental health has always been stigmatized, when in fact, there's a difference in mental health and mental illness. The two are different. Despite whatever it is, we want to come together to make sure that we can strengthen those links as strong as possible by making sure the arsenal is full. So we talk to the mom, the dad, the sister, the brother, the uncle, or the extended family members about how we come together to support one another, to make sure that wellness happens from the inside out. Then we start talking about the messages that are being sent. So Mr. Harris talked about no longer listening to the voices, but listening to his voice. It was a voice that brought him out, right? So what are the messages? Wonder where that voice came from. So it had to come from someplace. So when we're talking about the family unit, we start talking about the messages that are incoming, because those are the ones that we begin to believe, and those are the ones we begin to live by. So we address it as a unit. What one person's diagnosis is the whole family's diagnosis. It's not a diagnosis of a person, it's a diagnosis of a family.
Hey, Dr. Faith, before we go on,
yes,
we're missing one other panel, Nigel.
Yes.
I don't see him on my screen, and I'm like, where's Nigel at?
Yes.
I was asking him on the sideline, please introduce Nigel. I don't see him up on my screen.
So he didn't leave us. Fantastic. So much of what we've talked about today can weigh very heavily on us financially, right? Not only are we seeing it in terms of unemployment and furloughing, but when it comes to access in the healthcare system, oftentimes we retreat because healthcare, we perceive that mental health is so expensive. I'm not going to see a therapist. I'm not going to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist because it's too expensive. Well, our mental health is the foundation for everything. And thankfully, Mr. Nigel Caldon is going to lead us out of this, because he's not going to let us go at this alone. Let us know. He's not going to leave us out here hanging. So Mr. Caldon was born and raised in Brooklyn, awarded a presidential scholarship to study economics at Hampton University. He then returned to NYC to complete his bachelor's in economics in New York. He worked in credit derivatives at Goldman Sachs and Olane before founding the Street Academy for Financial Literacy, which is a nonprofit serving over 1,000 New York City youths annually. Today, Nigel is the co-founder and COO at Ballstar. Welcome, Nigel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the panelists. Thank you, Dr. Faith, Coach Gus, Duri, Naomi, the whole team that all put this together. I really appreciate it. I know I'm the last panelist. I won't hold you up. You all have been through a full day of just absolute encouragement and building you up. as we need to all have thicker armor in these tough times. As you mentioned, the mental stress and some of the barriers that allow our people to avoid the health system in its most conventional form are things that are just another barrier that we need to overcome. Bob Marley said, we ourselves must free our minds. And that's really the first step. You have to believe that you can. No one can do this for you, right? And it's always great to have a support system that helps push you in that right direction. But at the end of the day, the decision is yours. And you have to make that decision every day. Like panelists before me mentioned, it's an everyday struggle, whether it's about our personal lives, our financial lives, our business lives. All of those things are intertwined because they're be controlled by you. And I've got all of this that's going on. I know we're all going through a lot, but the one thing that I always share to people who are starting businesses, who are trying new enterprises, pivoting in their careers, going through any sort of massive change in their life, particularly those with financial implications, the answer is always keep your hands on the steering wheel. No matter how crazy things get around you, and they will get crazy, you've got to steer your way through. Don't ever give up that control to anyone or anything. And I know we're speaking to a lot of young people here today, so I hope you'll appreciate I didn't wear my three-piece suit today. I want to connect with you. I don't have a haircut because I'm observing social distancing. But at the end of the day, if there's one thing that I could share with you above all else, which in addition to all of the wonderful gems and throughout the course of today, is that if you look around you, literally look around you in your house, outside of your house, on the television, every single thing that you see was invented by someone no smarter than yourself.
That's right.
Every political structure, every economic structure, every business, every widget, the game of basketball, which I've devoted my life to in innovating on, someone invented it. Someone thought it would be cool if. Someone thought it would be great if I took this in another direction. And a lot of what you young people are hearing today is a generation of folks older than yourself in absolute admiration of what we're seeing out there in the streets, because it takes a level of fearlessness. It takes a level of not knowing what's next and not caring, knowing that something must be done now, and who better than you? If there are 1 million people in the street, don't matter what million people it is, it's 1 million people. But it can't be 1 million without you. That business cannot start without you. You cannot elevate from your circumstance without you.
Yeah.
So as you seek the appropriate tools which are being resourced to you, which we've all, not so much me, I'm just here to say my spiel, but the folks have put this together to make sure you have the resources, because you're not in this alone. And if you look outside, you're not outside alone. There are people who look like you, people who don't look like you, and you're going to have to be able to navigate how to identify allies. Financial allies, business allies, personal allies, all for the purpose of upliftment. And having panels, platforms such as this that can curate those for you, because the world's a messy place, y'all. One of the things that we envy as an older generation is you have everything at the tip of your fingertips. But you literally have everything at the tip of your fingertips. It would be great if only the good things, the pure things, the things that have good intentions for you and your community were at the tip of your fingers. But there are lies. There's misinformation. So Every sword has two sides, and we must be aware of the part that will cut us, and we must wield the side that will feed us. And so let's make that decision every day. And as my charge is to speak about finances, I'm going to keep it in that spirit of seeking opportunity. You can make that desk better than someone made a desk. You can make that bicycle better than someone made a bike. At the Street Academy for Financial Literacy, we've helped young people launch tons of businesses, from barbershops to tech companies. And there is no judgment, because you know what? It's all making money. It's all feeding you and your family in an honest and sustainable way that you can hold your head up high on. And as things are changing, as we're all learning how to operate on Zoom, opportunities are presenting themselves. And you young people know better than me. You are the marketplace. You are going to decide what the next sneaker is, what the next phone is. You will also decide what the next future is. You will also decide what the future of your community is. So spiritually, personally, financially, realize it's always a binary decision between good and bad, between good and better, between better and best. Coach Gus is a coach. He knows all about refining talent. People walk into the gym thinking they're all that. Sometimes they are, most of the time they're not. So have some humility. Seek out a coach who knows better than you and can point you in the right direction. Wow. But it's all a constant self-improvement, as was shared before me. Everyday struggle. We've got to fight for our right to do anything. There is a multi-generational adversarial approach that it's taken years to try to pull back Roe v. Wade. And it's taken them years to try to pull back our fundamental rights. And we need you, young people, to continue to iterate and push it in every fashion. You are the next Mark Zuckerberg. You are the next Barack Obama. You are the next Ursula Stevens. If you don't know who that is, that's the first Black woman to be a Fortune 500 executive. But you got it, not me. So I'm really looking forward to having you all lead me. If in any way, shape, or form I can support you in the formation of a business. I know personal finance, we all hear the same things about, hey, you need an emergency fund. Emergency for what? Guess what? We're all living through one now. It's going to be hard to forget this. So now we know what's on the other side. But I want us to play on the other side, not just consumers, but producers, that binary decision. We make it every day. And if I can help, I'm happy to support you and help catapult you forward to lift you as I climb myself. Thank you.